Back when I was in uni, which was really just the start of January, I took a course called Canada and Afghanistan. The professor said that if we pay attention, we will know more about Canadian foreign policy and the country of Afghanistan than the majority of North Americans. I am not claiming to know everything, but since creating Alex Sunny has gone viral for wanting to move to Afghanistan to be with her husband, and in turn, trends like this are going viral. I think it's time for a quick crash course on Afghanistan. So, I do not claim to be an expert. I'm just a girl that likes to read and yap. But if you want to know more than you did 10 minutes ago, be sure to watch till the end of the video. First, you need to know two things. One, the Taliban does not represent Islam, it represents extremism. And number two, Afghanistan was not always ruled by the Taliban. I mean, this dress in Afghanistan today and this traditional dress are not the same thing. If you've ever seen photographs of Afghanistan from before the Taliban took over, specifically in the 1960s and 1970s, you would have seen pictures of women going to university and wearing Western clothing. Afghanistan was by no means a feminist utopia, and these pictures really represented more urban communities than rural ones. But it's very different than what we see there today. In 1978, Afghanistan experienced a communist revolution. The following year, the Soviet Union invaded to support the government. This turned Afghanistan into one of the major battlefields of the Cold War. The US, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia all supported resistance fighters because they wanted to weaken the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Okay, proxy war. After about 10 years, the Soviets withdrew, but peace did not follow. The resistance fighters then fighted each other for control of the country. And because of that, ordinary Afghans found themselves living through years of violence and instability. That environment is the where and why behind the Taliban's emergence in the 90s. Taliban comes from the word students, and they started in Pakistan before Afghanistan. The Taliban promised three things: security, order, and an end to corruption. And after all these years of wars, that sounded pretty awesome. However, once the Taliban actually consolidated power, they imposed an extremely strict interpretation of Islamic Sharia law. Under this interpretation, women started to be banned from education and employment. Public executions became common. Music was heavily restricted, if allowed at all. Then came 9/11. I am so happy to make an entire video on 9/11 alone, so let me know if you want that in the comments. But what you need to know is that because the Taliban, which was the ruling government at the time, was protecting Al-Qaeda, those responsible for 9/11, the US and Canada and NATO and whatever else went in to Afghanistan. Because of this foreign interference, the Taliban collapsed and girls were able to go back to school. Women were also able to enter politics, independent media expanded, healthcare was improving. You were starting to see signs of change, arguably even modernization, but the country still struggled with security, corruption, insurgency. Ultimately, the Taliban never really disappeared, and in 2021, the US and NATO withdrew. This led to a really quick collapse of the Afghan government. And because of this quick collapse, the Taliban came back. Once again, women and girls have been barred from public life. No more education, no more employment, no more free movement. They're experiencing arguably a gender genocide, but the common terminology is gender apartheid. Now, here's the thing. In many Muslim countries, women are still being educated. Many Muslim scholars are even critical of the Taliban's use of Sharia. So it's really important you know that criticizing the Taliban does not make you Islamophobic, and criticizing the Taliban is not the same thing as criticizing Islam. But now that you understand a little bit more of the history, let's talk Alex Sunny, aka the girl that's moving to be with her husband. And keep in mind, with the Taliban and the state of Afghanistan right now, women are not allowed to participate in any forms of public life. I'm not gonna pretend I know this girl and her husband personally, because I don't. I also only know their story from what I've seen on TikTok. and everyone's trying to warn her about what it's like living under Taliban rule. But I also think it's important to remember that visitors, expats, and Afghanistan citizens all experience the country differently. In a country like Afghanistan, with its geographical landscapes, there's lots of mountains, lots of urban areas, rural areas. Where you live is also going to impact what's going on. The Taliban doesn't have a stronghold everywhere, but the areas they do have a stronghold on are worse. I think moving to a country and making a TikTok sitting here being like, okay, this is all the Bath and Body Works I'm gonna bring for my in-laws is incredibly tone deaf when it's not uncommon knowledge of what's happening to these girls. This conversation is so much bigger than a viral TikTok. I think one really good thing Alex has done is bringing Afghanistan back to the forefront of our attention. Because last year, when the Taliban passed a bunch of new laws around women, the world mostly ignored it. A lot of people make the argument that performative activism isn't effective. And I would argue the opposite. By talking about these things on social media, are you directly impacting the lives of Afghan girls? Probably not. But we can't do something about a problem we don't talk about. We cannot strategize. We cannot protest. The conversation has to start somewhere. I think that using this as an opportunity for clout is weird, but I love that we are finally bringing some light to the struggles of these women because the world cannot forget about them. The Afghanistan we see today was not created overnight. If you want to learn more about it, particularly what I learned in my Canada and Afghanistan class, please let me know. I'd be happy to make more videos. My goal with this YouTube channel is to create a video by Gen Z for Gen Z explaining different things in history and politics. If that's something that interests you, be sure to subscribe. But before you leave, don't forget, this is someone's life, not a viral TikTok trend. One girl moving to Afghanistan and her experience does not speak for everyone in the country. History doesn't excuse what's happening today, but it does explain how we got here. I hope this video was useful to you. If it was, be sure to share it and come back for more.